What's going on, everybody? My name is Jason Butler, and I'm with My Money Chronicles. I drive with Uber Eats part time, and I make anywhere between $250 $300 a month.
What was the inspiration to give this a shot and say, all right, I'm going to turn on the app, I'm going to sign up and see what happens?
If I'm in the process of paying off over $72,000 worth of debt, and in 2019, I took a slight break with that because I wanted to had to realize what am I going to do to make some extra money. I sell eBay. I sell items on the side with eBay, and that was decent money. But I wanted to speed this process up, so
Yeah.
I thought about all types of different side hustles, and one that piqued my interest was Uber Eats. I signed up for it. The process took maybe like a month, if that, and I started delivering food. And since then, it's been pretty awesome, actually.
What was that sign up process like? It's that's kind of surprising that it took a month to get onboarded.
Yeah, for that, basically, when I signed up to somebody's link via their app, and in their app, they ask for a couple of documents, and they ask for your insurance, your driver's license. I made sure I turned in all those documents, and that process took about 2 weeks right there. I don't know why it took so long for me to get my my official clearance letter to start driving, but it literally took about a month. But once I got the A-OK from them, I just tested it out one Sunday, and I've been pretty much hooked on and off since then.
It was off to the races. So, driver's license, insurance. Did they provide any additional like commercial insurance while you're out doing this stuff?
Though you have to have your own insurance 100% right now.
Okay. And you haven't run into any issues with your insurance provider saying, hey, now all of a sudden you're a commercial vehicle, you're using your car for work.
No, I haven't had any problems.
All right, fair enough. Are you worried about like extra miles and depreciation on your car or stuff like that?
I am a little bit, but the reason why I'm not really too worried about it is because I only do it a couple of hours each day. And like
Sure.
I said earlier, it's only about 7 to 8 days per month. So I'm not doing too much driving. But I will say that once the weather warms up, I will probably do a lot more driving because I want to make a lot more money. So that is
Okay.
something that I will be worrying about a little bit more then. Like I'll probably actually do a lot more oil changes, and probably actually get a tune up before I dive back into it 100%.
Yeah, the guy that we talked to who was doing DoorDash and Uber Eats, he was like, I'd do it on my bike, kind of like in a smaller urban area. And I mean, I don't know if you're driving all over Atlanta, you could get
Yeah, I
stuck in
am.
traffic, all sorts of stuff. But he was like, hey, I don't have to worry about the vehicle maintenance or insurance because I'm doing it on the bike or the electric scooter and stuff. I was like, oh, that's kind of a cool way to get it done. Okay, so you have a sense. So one Sunday, you decide to turn on the app and say, all right, let's do this. Do you remember your first order?
I don't remember exactly what the first order was. I know it was from a Chinese restaurant though. I was able to go
Okay.
to the Chinese restaurant. It was about maybe 3 miles from my house, and the delivery was about 10 minutes from there. I think I made for that delivery probably made included with tip about $12. So it was actually pretty good during that first delivery.
Okay. What's typical in terms of dollars and distance?
When I was doing it consistently, I was making around $25 to $30 an hour, which was
Okay.
pretty good. Yeah, which was pretty good. And as far as different distance, I would say maybe going around 10 to 15 miles, depending on like which day. And if I wanted, just like for example, you know how Atlanta is. If I got a delivery by the airport, I would keep the device on and drop something off to somebody in the city. Then the next delivery would maybe be downtown. So I would go like around downtown and then by the Grant Park area. So it was like around a 10 to 15 mile radius for the most part. Now there were a couple
Okay.
of times where I had one like 20 to 30 miles out, but that didn't happen that much because after the majority of the deliveries, I would turn the app off and then get back closer to the area where I was more comfortable with and where I knew I would get a lot of kind of like short deliveries at.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah, you never know where they're going to send you. Or can you say, accept or reject based on how far away it is?
With Uber Eats, you don't know where you're going until you accept it. With
Oh wow.
DoorDash,
Okay.
yeah, with DoorDash you could decline it. So I actually tried to make sure that I accept the majority of the orders by the airport because I live near the airport and there are a lot of hotels and a lot of different little small neighborhoods around this area. So majority of the time I got lucky. Majority of the time, most of the deliveries were in like that 10-mile radius by the Atlanta airport.
All right. Well, that's not too bad. It makes sense that the app is trying to match you up with stuff that is nearby. I mean, that's just
That-
more efficient for everybody.
yeah.
And that's a pretty impressive hourly rate. Did you have any strategies that you were doing to optimize that?
Yeah, I actually realized that like a couple places, like there's a very popular barbecue restaurant around the area, and when I would turn the app on, I would get 2 or 3 deliveries from that restaurant, and I would accept all of them. With me accepting all of those deliveries, basically it's kind of like stacking the orders. When I
Yeah.
stacked
Okay.
the orders, yeah, when I stacked the orders, I did great, and that happens a lot depending on which restaurant you go to. I know for a fact um, there's a Mexican restaurant where a lot of people order food from. It's real popular on Uber Eats. I would do the same thing there, and that works a lot on for me. It worked a lot on Fridays and Saturdays when it comes to like trying to stack.
Okay. So stacking orders within the app rather than opening up two or three different delivery apps and trying to manage all that different stuff.
Correct. Because the one time I tried to do that, I had an app crash on me when I had an order that needed to be delivered, and I got lucky and I was able to turn it on and close the other one in the nick of time before I got another order. But it was kind of a stressful situation, and I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to have to worry about doing that again.
You ever run into trouble where you pick up those two or three orders from the same spot and then they have you going in a bunch of different directions, and meanwhile customer number three is like, dude, what took you so long?
It happened one time. They understood though. They understood. Like I let them know that I had a couple multiple orders and they were actually cool with me.
Okay.
But the crazy thing is that my second time doing Uber Eats, I locked my keys in my car on a stacked order. Um, I reached out to customer service myself, and I also messaged the other person, and we was able to get him a refund because he ordered his order. I was able to get his order to him like an hour and 15 minutes later,
Oh,
which sucked
yeah.
because I had to wait for AAA and everybody to come unlock the car, and it
Oh,
sucked. But he got his
so
food.
frustrating.
Yeah, I was nervous too, like, and this was in August because I started doing it in the summer, so it was like
Yeah.
95 degrees outside. Yeah, it was a tough time.
I'll do you one better. I locked my keys in my car with the car running while I was at a focus group, another side hustle. Like I went
Oh
there
wow.
with the friends. It was like a beer tasting, like consumer research study, which was awesome. But
Hmm.
every dollar that I meant there went to pay the locksmith to come and open up the car. So
Oh God, that
frustrating. Mistakes
sucks.
happen.
Exactly.
um, anything else that sucks about it? Awful
I would
interactions with
say
customers or other misadventures?
I've been super lucky. All of my customers have been pretty good. I would say I get tips about 65 to 70% of the time as well. The only thing that sucks with Uber Eats, if you don't know where you're going, like I've been lucky enough to like not get an order for somebody that wants me to deliver to Kennesaw because I would have to find a way to cancel that because that's basically 35 to 40 minutes from where I live at. And I'm
Yeah.
not trying to drive that far. So I've been lucky, but that's the one thing that kind of sucks about it. I think with Uber Eats though, they just started if you get to like the next tier, like a certain amount of sales, you can see exactly where you're going. So you actually have a chance to pick and choose if you want to
Okay.
accept the order or not.
Do they have similar to Uber rideshare? Like, is there surge pricing during busy times?
There is surge pricing. There's definitely surge pricing. I haven't been lucky enough to do that to get one of those yet because majority of the surge pricing is at night, and
Yeah.
I typically stop driving like Like when I was driving a lot, I typically would stop driving around 9 or 9:30, just because I didn't
Okay,
want to be out at night like that.
sure. So you don't know the tip up front, or if there's even going to be a tip. It's kind of you have to influence that through your speedy delivery and your excellent customer service.
In
How
the
does that work?
It works. It actually works great. Like in the beginning, you definitely didn't know what the tip was, but they recently did an update where if the person puts a tip beforehand, now they can always come back and give you tips later. And that's usually what happened with me. I literally was sitting on the couch a few times, check the app, see the notification on the app go off on the phone, and I see such and such gave you a $3 tip or such and such gave you a $5 tip, which is pretty good. And I've had
Okay.
those too. Yeah, but I've also had a couple of customers give me cash tips as well. So it's pretty good. I like that because you're making a delivery and then you check the app an hour later and you get a surprise.
A surprise bonus. Do you do anything to, I mean, maybe not upfront request those, but to encourage customers to add a tip after the fact?
See, what I do, um, I'm not sure if every driver does it, but I usually text them when I'm about 5 minutes away. I would just say, this is Uber Eats. I'm 5 minutes away," or "This is Uber Eats. I'm a couple of minutes away," and hopefully you'll enjoy your food. Something like that to just warn them and let them know.
Okay.
And many times the customer will be outside waiting for me, and I think by letting them know, it gets them kind of anxious and gets them ready, and they're prepared to receive the food.
Okay. And doing it in your car, you ever run into issues with parking either at the restaurant or at the destination?
I'm lucky I haven't, and that's one of the reasons why I don't accept a lot of that's why I don't accept deliveries in Midtown or downtown, because with downtown Atlanta and Midtown Atlanta, parking is
Yeah.
terrible. Literally, there are hardly no places to park, or you'd have to pay to park, and I don't want to get my car towed for doing like a 2 minute or going in a restaurant for 2 minutes. So
Yeah, it's not worth it.
yeah, definitely not worth it. So I've been lucky enough. Every restaurant in the areas where I go, they have parking lots, and all of the people who I deliver with, they either have a parking lot as well or like street parking. So I've been lucky on that note.
Well, Jason, anything else that we ought to know before embarking on our own Uber Eats experiments?
I will say make sure if if you do multiple companies like Uber, I mean DoorDash gives you like a little carrying case, like a little hot bag, a bag to keep the food hot. Use that for Uber Eats as well. I use that bag all the time, and it definitely is good for the customer to get their food still warm. If you don't get the bag with DoorDash, you can purchase a bag like that, like a thermal bag at Walmart, because
Sure, sure.
you'll be surprised if you stack these orders. Sometimes customers may have they may have like 4 or 5 people eating, so you'll be coming out with 4 or 5 different bags of food, and it helps you carry it as well. Because I've had multiple deliveries where I've had to like put the orders in there and carry them in the bag instead of making back and forth trips in the restaurant, because it's all about trying to get stuff there in a good time too, because you want your customer to receive their food like literally within 10 to 15 minutes if possible.
Yeah, it's all about speed, and well, that turns it over for you, so you can start to accept the next order and keep it going.
Exactly. Because with Uber Eats, you get paid for your deliveries. The more deliveries you get, the more money you get.
Is a typical delivery kind of in that $8 to $10 range?
Yep, they are. They definitely are. Now, if you,
Okay.
the crazy thing is, I like since I've been lucky enough to get some deliveries. I mean deliveries to get those tips. I've had days where I've averaged like $17 or $18 per delivery, which was
Okay.
freaking awesome. Yeah, yep. And I believe that other people can do the same thing by just sending those text messages out and just being real nice and cordial to the people that's ordering the food.
All right. Well, stay safe on the road out there, texting and driving. But
Well, oh, I will. I definitely will.
well, sounds good, Jason. You can check him out, mymoneychronicles.com. Keep up to date on his debt freedom journey and everything else that you got going on side hustle wise. Really appreciate you coming on. to share the inside scoop on Uber Eats here.
No problem, Nick. Thank you for having me.